the trade, and the Bears are allowing him to go out and find their own deal. Also, Ryan Poles reportedly is close to landing a defensive edge at the NFL trade deadline and a smear campaign for Justin Fields. We're going to talk about all and more right after this.
Now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. Stevo, Bobby, Haize, we all in the building today because we got some bullshit to talk about. It's unfortunate, bro. Like the first thing, it came out late last night that Jaylen Johnson requested a trade. Now, this is after the contract negotiations. Ryan Poles was always kind of non-committal, saying that, a deal would have to make sense for both sides. The thing I'm going to throw to you guys is this. Jaylen Johnson's a 24-year-old cornerback, probably a top 10 to 15 cornerback in the NFL. You have a young cornerback class with Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, and Terrell Smith. They're all like Jaylen Johnson, even though he's been in the league 4 years, is only 18 months older than these guys. What do you guys think of like how this Jaylen Johnson situation has gone down? Because we could very well see Jaylen Johnson on the move within the next 3 or 4 hours before the trade deadline.
Stevo.
In my mind, when I heard this, I said he must want some money. And it must be some real money we ain't trying to give him. Because I had this talk with Coach T a couple of days ago, and we was talking about
Coach T, by the way.
For sure. Facts. Shout out to Coach T. And I was talking to him, we was just throwing out numbers of what we get him and what when we get past a certain number, when we getting over the bridge is getting a little too heavy at that point. And we came to a consistency that once you get past $13 million a year, I don't know if I want to cross that bridge. So I was cool by giving him 12 and a half a year. And knowing him, I said this earlier this season, I said earlier last in the offseason, knowing the way Jaylen been talking, knowing what he just seen with Roquan, he gonna ask for that bread. And he wanted that extension early. And we already know Pose is a stubborn when it comes to money. He ain't just finna give it to you because you asked for it. Your line of work gotta add up to it. And I'm pretty sure when that meeting came about, or meetings, turnovers was a big talking point why they're not bumping up that money.
And I can understand that. I don't mean to cut you off, Steve. I can completely understand that. But I think we have to point out that typically quarterbacks don't pass to who Jaylen Johnson's guard, and that's for a reason, right? Yeah. So when I look at it, and I agree with you on the money part of it, when you look at the highest paid cornerback in the league is Jair Alexander with the Packers, making $21 million per year. But when you look at kind of the ones falling down on that, Darius Slay, Shavarius Ward, Jamel Dean, all making between $13 and $14 million per year. I put Jaylen Johnson right there amongst those guys.
That's where I was going, Haize. I was going to say, hey, Jair Alexander, he making over $20 million a year. No, sir, we ain't doing that for Jaylen Johnson. But I was looking at that same little area right there with Carlton Davis, Slay, Ward, and Jamel Dean. I say, hey, the guys right in that area to make somewhere between that 13 and 16 million per year type of thing. And I know that a lot of us, we including myself, I was want to be like, hey, the man don't get interceptions. But Haize, you got a valid point where, hey, most quarterbacks ain't throwing it to him. And then if you look at the last 2 seasons, you had rookies on the other side of him that quarterbacks wanted to like completely annihilate.
That's another great point as well.
And then if you add in last year, your defensive line was trash. You only had 20 sacks on the season, and the defensive line ain't much improved now. So how you gotta, I think when it comes to football, we know that yes, guys will create interceptions on their own a lot of the times, but we know there are times to where defensive lines can cause.
I think we got breaking news, fellas.
What we got?
What you do?
According to Avid Schefter's, Commanders and Bears have agreed to trade to send Montez Sweat to Chicago for a 2024 second round pick per sources.
Okay, now. I got to update this thumbnail so we can get more people in here. Shout out to the Chicago Bears. But see, this is to me, right? I give the Bears credit for that. If you just traded for Montez Sweat, to me, that makes more sense to keep Jaylen Johnson around because if you improve the defensive line, you're going to get even more out of it. And I love the point Bobby made. For the last 2 years, you've had rookie cornerbacks that have started. and they're obviously going to get more targets. Jaylen Johnson averages a QB rating of when QBs pass the person he's guarding at 33.3. That is elite. You pay that man.
Yeah, like I mean, I think to me, I have the most familiarity with Jaylen Johnson because Oregon is my favorite college, and he played in the Pac-12 in Utah. And one of the main things it was the same thing in college. Nobody threw to him, but a lot of the reasons they didn't throw to him is because the other side was garbage or either very inexperienced. But at the same time, I feel like the only reason why there was just hesitancy is because when we seen him go up against those big time X, he 9 times out of 10 he had a good showing, but he lost that battle, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So but to me, I'm with y'all. I feel like you pay him a reasonable amount. I say, okay, Bobby just said 13 between 16. I give him about 14, 15 and see if he take that. That's pretty cool. 16 if I'm really just because like you said, I like the whole core that we're starting to build here in terms of the secondary. Maybe Eddie's on his way out, but that's just one we can find a safety. So there's been a very long time where I was confident in the secondary. Even when we had Kyle Fuller in them, I was in Prince Mukamura, I was sitting there like I don't really like that secondary like that. I love this secondary potential what I'm seeing so far.
Right.
Kyler at the nickel. Stevenson, yes, he's getting picked on just like Kyler was. But as soon as that year was over, Kyler got a feel for the game, and he's been making plays ever since. That's the same thing's gonna happen with Tyreek. And then you just have that cornerstone that, for the most part, locks down anything he sees in JJ. I say try your best to keep him.
I agree.
Especially after this breaking news.
Now with Montez Sweat being, to me, and we've talked about this. We talked about this in the post-game show. When you have a defensive line that can get pressure on the quarterback, fuck sacks, you want sacks, but just to consistently get pressure on the quarterback, it makes it easier for your pass coverage. We haven't put our cornerbacks, our secondary in the best situation for 3 years in a row now. And because of that, you got to think, Poe's making this move for Sweat. To me, I'm giving Jaylen Johnson a $14.5 million deal with incentives.
Perfect.
With incentives. And
that'd be perfect.
If you do start getting interceptions, if you do start forcing turnovers, if you do make a all pro team, cool. We can give you more money because at that point you're proving it. You keep a 24-year-old top 10 cornerback in the league when you're rebuilding. It'd be different if he was 32, 33 years old.
Facts.
Cool. He's 20. He has not even entered his prime yet. It's crazy.
And I think there's a lot of runway with him to see what he can if he can continue to ascend when it comes to his talent. That's why you really have to pay. And I believe, bro, if you want to take steps forward, you cannot keep subtracting good players from the team in the hopes that you're going to have a draft pick that's going to come and fill that void. I understand the like for Terrell Smith, but he ain't been here. Hope he gets well with Mono. You know what I'm saying? And we still got to figure out if Stevenson going to eventually pan out. We confident that he will, but it's still not being displayed every single game. Not yet. So we got to wait. We can't keep
and you can't fall in love with the potential so much so that you're ready to give up on a sure thing, right? Yes, Tyreek Stevenson has tons of potential. I would say this. Tyreek Stevenson has potential to be better than Jaylen Johnson. I can admit that. But even with that said, you don't give up a surefire thing. You don't give it up.
And you know, another thing I got to take account in that we're also not getting in. We're also not in the right coaching position anyway. These dudes should be pressing most of the time, and they not.
Facts. Listen, what we talked about.
I just thought about that.
We are the makeup of our team is every time we go to man coverage, we look like a better team. We don't do it because Matt Eberflus is so tied to his system. He's a fucking idiot. To me, you don't get rid of young talent. You need to get rid of coaching staff, bring in a new coaching staff, and then see what you have. Because to me, you just have so many players that aren't being put in the proper and right situations for their skill set, in my opinion. But hey, we had a topic on here to discuss the Bears trading for a defensive lineman, but we just got that. Montez Sweat. We'll talk about that a little bit now before we get into the Justin. Montez Sweat is now officially a Chicago Bear, fellas. How are you guys feeling about what that could change? Because I say this, bringing in Montez Sweat maybe you do even see better from Unique Ngakoue the rest of the season. He's still not going to stay here. Don't keep him long term. But I think that's going to help the development of Javon Dexter, of Zach Pickens. I even think that now DeMarcus Walker can be put in a better situation because he's going to have somebody like that has the gravity of a Montez Sweat out there. What do you guys think this does for the rest of the Chicago Bears season?
It helps. It's definitely going to be able to help depending on how fast they can get him in, get him, accustomed to it. He's a defensive player, so he will know some of the terminology already, and it's really not that as complex as an offense. But you spoke to DeMarcus Walker. I think that helps him immensely and helps the defensive lineman because Walker was a guy with Tennessee that was able to play inside and outside. Now you got Unique Ngakoue you could put on one edge, got Montez Sweat on the other edge, and now you can move a guy like Walker inside now and see what he can do next to an Andrew Billings, next to a young rookie like Javon Dexter, and hopefully you can generate some more pressure. So
you can even do what the Chargers did and put Sweat next to Yannick if you want to.
Right, same side.
That's something that you overload that side. I tell you what. And the thing I like about Montez Sweat now, the thing with this is, and this brings in even more not controversy, but questions around what Pose is doing. Montez said is 27 years old. We know he's a monster, right? But you got to pay him this offseason. But you're not willing to pay the 24-year-old cornerback that's been here his whole career. Story for another day. But Montez Sweat comes in 27 years old, 6'6", 262 pounds. This dude is an absolute beast, right? 6.5 sacks so far in the year. He had 8 sacks last year, on pace to break double-digit sacks for the first time in his career. This guy's a legit monster. But the thing I also love about Sweat, he's just as potent in the running game. So often we bring in pass rushers that aren't good in the running game. You don't have to worry about that with Sweat. He's a consistent defensive lineman that's going to get penetration and either run stop or put pressure on the quarterback. Great trade by the Chicago Bears.
I agree. I believe it's a great trade. I know it's a second-round pick. Some people are going to bring up Chase Claypool, but Chase Claypool is gone, y'all. We good. Yeah. GMs mess up. They do it all the time.
In their defense, Montez has a history for that second-round pick.
That's what I'm saying. And Chase Claypool, while there was potential there, and I mean, he put up numbers, but there was always those questions around his motor and things like that. Montez Sweat comes in, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, no character concerns we've heard from his 5 years in the NFL at all about Sweat. I think he got into it with a defensive line coach when he was younger, but outside of that, it's been no character concerns with him.
So, that man went to Mississippi State. They don't play that.
And I think he's gonna be good because the Commanders, they was having their own issues. Hopefully he can bring something to the Chicago Bears so they can right their wrongs over here too. So I like the move in totality for sure.
Facts. Now I'm going to ask this because I know people are going to ask. Now they did not trade for Chase Young, who was a player that a lot of Bears fans have wanted since the offseason. But I will say this. I don't think anybody's going to give up the compensation that the Commanders want for a player that he's fixing the injury concerns, but they're still there. Could this be the first step in recruiting Chase Young in the offseason? And then now you bringing in both defensive ends from the Commanders if we get Chase Young also this offseason to add to this team.
I didn't think about it like that.
Hey, I think that'd be
just
something
saying.
good.
Yeah, because I mean, to me, I was the one I always wanted Sweat over Young anyway, because my whole thing is you got to be on the field. And I just don't trust Young is going to be on the field. Montez has proven that he's going to be on the field more. So that's why
Montez Sweat has played in 96% of the games he's been available for since he got drafted.
And he's playing, and it's a car crash every time he line up. So that tells you a lot. He know how to take care of his body, and he's entering the prime of his career. That's one thing. Like, even anything that he can add to this thing, he's also young enough to understand the youth that's there, and he's old enough to teach them. So that helps out Pickens. That helps out Dexter. That helps out a lot of people.
Bro, and think about it this way. I know Billings hasn't been perfect, but Billings and Sweat on the same side of the ball?
Ain't no run game there, sir.
That's damn near 500 pounds, well, almost 600 pounds of grown men right there. That's going to be difficult to get around, man. So shout out to Pose for going out and getting it done and bringing in Montez Sweat, even though we're criticizing him for the Jaylen Johnson scenario, but it is what it is. There's both sides of the coin. But we also got to talk about this Justin Fields craziness.
I'm on the ass,
bro. Steve, I'm just gonna turn it over to you because I already know you need to get this off your chest, bro.
So I'm not even gonna go off like y'all think I am. It's
Go
just that at this point, I'm looking at Pose and I'm looking at Warren because now you're making this organization some bullshit. You're making us like I told Bobby before we started this live. How the goddamn organizational wise, how does the Arizona Cardinals look better than us now? That should never be the case. You have now allowed so many whispers getting out, so many type of narratives to go out that nobody knows. The identity of this team is just shot. We don't know what we was once known as a team that we might be losing, but we believe in the staff. Now we know damn well the staff has lost the locker room. You can lie and say that they playing for each other at this point. This team know they talented. This team know they ain't the problem. They know what the issue is. But now you got this I hate what's the word Coach T use. He says coaching is like a the Alpha Kappas and motherfucker. What they call
fraternity?
Fraternity. It's a fraternity. Now the fraternity is bunching up together. Now the staff is bunching up together to saying like, oh, they called us out. But if they just run our system, that's your problem.
Y'all system is trash.
That's your problem. The system is garbage. We improved. It been proven for a year. Now that you done put 2 quarterbacks and it's still proving that your system is garbage. You don't know how to run a blitz when it's time to call a blitz. You should just stay the goddamn linebackers coach because as a DC, you tripping. I don't know what it is. Luke is Luke. We already know Luke is Luke. So as when it comes to you, they talking about poses at the game. Oh, look at Kevin Warren looking at taking notes. He ain't taking no damn notes. He looking at the damn sound system. He looks to the damn acoustics of the stadium. He looking at the blueprint. I think we can put this in all. This motherfucker has not shown me, as he became my president, that he's doing anything else but besides money and the stadium.
Facts. And that
I understand that the stadium was going to be his primary focus when he first came here. That's his focus is to get the stadium off. But with where the Bears are right now as a franchise, the fact that this coaching, like I need Kevin Warren. If he's focused on the stadium right now, cool. But I need Kevin Warren to get with Ryan Poles, and they need to pick what the fuck this direction of this organization is. They got to, because I tell you what, if you come out of this offseason, in my opinion, and your thought process is let's hold on to Eberflus or Luke Getsy, I got to question how committed you actually are to winning. And that's the thing that Kevin Warren came in here and said, is that they are trying to set the example of a Super Bowl winning organization. We ain't seen enough. Matt Eberflus is still your head coach.
We ain't seen no competency.
We ain't seen none of that since, the start of the season. Started with game 1.
Facts.
And then after it's to the point. We know what's going to be said at every press conference. Because the guy is one of the greatest politicians to never be a politician.
He's a shoe salesman.
Bro, it's just ridiculous. And I think that when you come out and you allow all this chatter and you don't silence anything, I understand you don't have to come to the forefront and speak on everything. But when those whispers start to get too loud, you got to silence something and you got to shut things down, because there's no way that you got your coaching staff trying to prove that they are the right guys the way that they tried to prove themselves on Sunday night in front of national media, and they just went out there and made themselves look like ass.
I literally told y'all, motherfucker, don't be surprised if they do exactly the same thing they do to Justin Tyson and flip the game plan and make that motherfucker throw it 37 times, and what he do, throw it 37 times.
They did, and that's what they was trying to see. It's not us, it's the quarterback. And they made themselves look like fools.
Goofy, just straight goofy. I'm tired of looking goofy. Fire these goofs. You made a mistake. Say it. We will respect you. You say it. Say it, Pole. You made a mistake.
Facts.
You came out here with your chest all out, talking about if I didn't want to be here, I could have went to Minnesota. I wanted 100%. Well, you allowed their ass to trick your ass to get into these 2 motherfuckers in here.
Facts.
It's not working. It's been 2
No,
years.
not with this coaching
It's
staff.
not working. Don't
They're
sit
not
here and
good
try to
enough.
blame the players. The players have put y'all in so many situations where they shouldn't have been winning, but they had a chance to win. And guess what? There's a key downfall in every situation. It's one call every single time. That's coaching. Don't sit here and blame the players. Because all the talent around the leagues know we talented. You don't see people talking about Justin the way they do if they didn't know he's talented. You don't see Devin White coming up to DJ in the middle of the game talking about, bro, they ain't using you right, and it's week fucking 2.
And you got other players on opposing teams like, man, I'm glad Fields won out there tonight. You heard what Khalil Mack said. That's because the consensus around the league against the people that Justin Fields play against, they know. But some way, somehow, it's always a bozo in the room thinking they can outsmart somebody, and their egos get in the way. Shout out to Big Kev. Their egos get in the way, and this is what you get: a product that's tainted, and it looks like a clown show.
That's facts. And that's why this title is what it is. The Chicago Bears continue to sabotage their future. And I listen, and I know we're talking about at a time where they land Montez Sweat, and shout out to that, but like, you have to start asking yourself, right? What is Jaquan Brisker seeing in this? Jaquan Brisker sees a guy that I'm sure has mentored him, and Jaylen Johnson, things like that. They see how they treat what's supposedly be their QB1. You haven't paid anybody that's been homegrown here. Roquan's gone, right? You got to start asking yourself, what are we building here as far as a culture? And outside of the wins, losses, the culture that you're building right now is you're showing that if players perform, they're not even guaranteed to get paid for that.
Right, and that makes no sense, and that's the crazy part, because remember when Pose first started coming on, Eberflus started coming on, they bringing back Charles Tillman, Brian Urlacher, we got the guys coming back from all the good teams back in the day. We like, damn, this is a good culture setting, and ever since then, it's a bit shaky for me, man. I ain't gonna lie, it's a bit shaky. I understand some of the moves when it comes to Robert Quinn. It was a bit questionable when you look at Roquan Smith, but you do understand that a little bit, but you can't keep running this course like this, man. You got to take care of your people, especially if you said you wanted to have homegrown players play here. Yeah. This is one of your guys.
That's through the draft.
Yeah. Listen, and we'll see, man. Like, this Jaylen Johnson situation doesn't make me feel good. How the treatment of Justin Fields doesn't make me feel good. And I hope that these concerns, these rumors, whatever you want to call it, I honestly hope that they go away and they're eventually proven to not be true. That would be great to see. But as of right now, there's much to be desired when it comes to how the Bears are treating their own homegrown talent. Justin Fields has his own issues, I understand. But Jaylen Johnson is top 10 to 15 player at his position. You take care of guys like that. You don't trade them away. Roquan, I kind of understood because of the amount of money he wanted. We ended up revamping the whole linebacking core for only, I think, what is it like? We're paying like $1 million more for all three linebackers than Roquan, even though Roquan's having an amazing season. You don't want to keep allowing talent to go away. It's really starting to feel like the Chicago Bulls. Are we going to keep letting young talent go away and develop elsewhere? And if that's the case, it's really hard to build a culture if that's what you're doing.
Facts.
Can't build no culture with some motherfuckers that don't know what culture is.
Facts.
They ain't had no culture where they was at. They thought they did. See, you gotta hire people that built the culture, then come a part of it. That's the main thing you didn't realize. We got Luke. He came a part of that culture.
Yeah, I feel that. To me, if you and if they ain't Jaylen Johnson can't come up to extension, to me, what you do, I would rather just franchise tag him and try to work on something that way.
I agree. I don't think you trade him right now.
No. Yeah, I don't think you trade him. Like I mean, nobody wants to be franchise tagged anymore, but like franchise tag him, try to use that time to negotiate a reconstruction on the contract. What that shows is, hey, Jaylen, we want you here. We just got to we need a little bit more time to get to the details of this contract. Whatever it is, you don't let a 24-year-old corner walk away. You just don't do it, man.
Right.
So
yes,
we'll see, man. We'll see. Damn, Beck says Montez is ass. I don't know what football you watching. This is why you can't talk sports with everyone.
Because the man
Yeah, that man is a monster, bro. Like, you
Yeah.
got to watch more football. Fellas, anything left before we go, bro?
Got some. I was gonna just say that the coming in, Montez Sweat, if compared to any other defensive lineman on the Bears, he leads, he's first in everything. Sacks, total pressures, QB hits, pass rush win rate, and his PFF grade is all better than anything the Bears currently have. So let's get it, baby.
That's it. That's it.
All I gotta say is, Pose be a GM, Kevin be a president. Fix this shit.
Thank you.
That's what it boils down to. Thank you guys so much for tuning
And Chris
in.
Collinsworth, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, oh yeah, like Collinsworth, exactly. Like that motherfucker got to shut up, bro. Stay out of Chicago Bears business. That's what we need you to do, man. Stay out of Chicago Bears business. Every time he talks on our city, it's some bullshit, bro. Every time. So
The hell is
the
a
fuck about it,
Collinsworth?
man.
He ain't worth
but
shit.
but man, make sure you guys are following us at Shy Bears Central. Make sure you also go and check out Bobby and C-Dub over at Shy Bulls Podcast with the Cognac Boys. You can follow Stevo at NBA Central and everything Chicago Central related. So make sure you guys follow him there as well. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. Chi-Town up, bear down. Love you guys. Peace.